Jujutsu Kaisen is coming to League of Legends.
Hey.
Of course, it's pretty obvious that Riot loves making anime references to cater to their community, especially because a lot of Rioters are huge nerds and want, in some way, to pay tribute to works they personally love. To give you an idea, the Rioter Buke, Azu BK, Nadefo Doll, who works in Riot's design team, explained in the Champion Insight for Cassante that while he was creating the Champion's ultimate, he could only think about that iconic scene where Rock Lee takes off the weights from his ankles and absolutely crushes Gaara, and everyone just stands there completely shocked and in disbelief. And when it comes to skins, these references and parodies are even more obvious. Battle Academia is a perfect example of that. And since Jujutsu Kaisen was basically a massive hit when it launched, and is still extremely popular today, it's obvious that Riot would want to take advantage of that hype. According to leaks from Big Bad Bear, the new champion, who he claims is called Locke, looks very similar to Nanami from Jujutsu, in terms of appearance and overall style. On top of that, he mentioned that Locke would be using something called soul nails as his weapons, so basically, he has Nanami's look with Nobara's technique. He also supposedly has a main nail, which is believed to be made of petrocite. He even says that he suspects this main nail might be made from that object the blonde crying guy on the cover of the comic for the Fallen is holding, and he also believes that Locke himself might actually be that grieving guy. But when it comes to gameplay, we would be using these nails a lot to perform rituals. Remember when I said the new champion could be an occultist? Well, there's your proof. There's also mention of a 1,000-year seal. Now let me put on my tinfoil hat and start theorizing. But before that, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a member. You get access to a bunch of cool perks like choosing video topics or watching videos early. I'd say this seal is connected to some kind of primordial demon. In my opinion, it could be the primordial demon of pain. Maybe Locke's rituals cause him to take damage himself, but somehow redirect it to the enemy, kind of like what Hayden does in Naruto. Or maybe he sacrifices a part of his own health in exchange for dealing more damage to the target. It's also worth pointing out that he wouldn't be the first champion with some kind of ritual or pact mechanic. Long before this guy Locke, we already had Callista, since the Black Spear forms a contract between her and whoever she chooses. What's funny is that in the lore, one of the ways to form a pact by summoning her involves the person hammering 3 nails into some kind of doll while reciting specific phrases. When Callista appears, she offers you the chance for revenge by accepting your cause and marking the one who betrayed you for death, but at the cost of your soul. Then she does exactly what happens in the game. She pulls the spear that killed her in life out of her chest and throws it into the person who summoned her, so they die as a sacrifice and payment. In the end, the one who made the pact has their soul absorbed into the amalgamation of vengeful spirits that make up and continuously strengthen Callista. If you're interested, all of this is explained in more detail in the short story Invocation, but at least in her cinematic, that whole voodoo ritual kind of thing wasn't shown. It was presented in a much simpler and more straightforward way, and in that leaked screenshot image, we can see a little bar under the mana bar that even looks a lot like Pantheon's passive bar. So are we getting a mid laner bruiser assassin? I'd honestly bet on that option. Now whether he's going to be AD or AP, we'll have to wait and see. Even so, considering his whole theme, I'd imagine he's probably AP. Now, still talking about this so-called seal, man, I really believe that this 1,000-year thing is referring to the Runic Wars, which happened roughly around that time. And it would make sense for it to be a primordial demon of pain that's sealed away, because that feeling was definitely one of the most present things back then. Either physical pain from mages torturing and killing each other, or the emotional pain of losing your home, loved ones, and things like that. And Demacia has its own history with demons. The sculptor who created Galio himself, Durand in this case, makes it very clear in his design notes that the petrocite shackles he created, which are now with Silas, were designed to fully restrain formed demons. That's why we even see Rom there in the sketches, who is the demon of secrets and is currently bound in a pact with Swain. And yeah, Locke is supposed to arrive in the second act of this Demacia season. I expected his identity to be confirmed soon, but well, that didn't happen. It really feels like someone at Riot is either lying or completely screwing things up. The new motion comic was supposed to drop on February 4th, but as of this time I'm recording this video, there's absolutely nothing. And the last comic that came out, the one focused on Yunara, went through something similar. On Riot's official schedule, it had a release date set for January 21st, but it only came out on the 22nd, which was when the update happened. And okay, that's fine. It was just 1 day delay. But I'm recording this video on February 7th, and this new one still hasn't dropped. which means it's already 3 days late. And that makes even less sense because this new comic coming out doesn't really line up. The previous one was delayed by 1 day, but it's still on launched on the update day. The thing is, we actually had the update on the 4th, and the next one comes around the 19th. So why is that? Did the intern mess up the dates, or did something go wrong with Locke and Riot decide to delay his reveal a bit more? That actually kind of makes sense, since we've had a recent case of something like that happening with Wild Rift's Nora, who had a release delayed because she had some gameplay bugs. And Nora is actually really sick, to the point that people in her video over on Skin Spotlights are literally begging Riot to put her in League on PC. So if Nora had bugs in a game like Wild Rift, which doesn't have that spaghetti code mess like League on PC, just imagine the kind of crap that could be happening with Locke's kit. Riot is already trying to innovate more and more, even though they recycle a lot of old champions' abilities to create new ones. So if they're actually innovating with Locke's mechanics and doing stuff like that, what I theorized, it really does make sense that things broke and got delayed. And before wrapping this up, in another video, Big Bad Bear also mentioned the return of the Fairy Court skin line, and that Locke might come along with the new wave of skins from that theme, as a winter fairy. And yeah, that's right, there's no point in you tough guys crying about it. Even if the new champ is inspired by Nanami, he's still gonna have a literal fairy skin, and it's very likely Riot's gonna make him a tight pants pretty boy just like Ezreal. While this video was being edited, more stuff got leaked, so here we go. So Skin Spotlights actually got to see the new comic and even shared its intro. We now have a full confirmation that those mages who attacked Garen and his group were actually Noxians, and the reason Garen left one of them alive is because of his sense of justice, and because he wanted them to serve as a message to anyone who else thinks they can just storm into Demacia and try their luck. And Skin Spotlights also said that we actually get the first teaser for the new champion in this new comic during the first few pages, but it would be something small and subtle. Anyway, if you remember that blonde whiny guy and how Big Bad Bear was saying that he could be Locke, he's already dropped that idea, saying it would just be a relative of one of the officers who died, or just some random person instead. And in this comic, we're going to have Garen going from family to family, offering his sincere condolences in this rough time. Basically, we now know that the comic was pushed back to patch 26.4, which drops on February 19th. So yeah, I was right again. But Bear points out it was weird Riot just waited 3 days to make an official announcement. I guess those guys just didn't care. So the question remains, what is the real identity of Locke? I still don't think he's going to be the mage Garen left alive to send a message, although it would be insane if he ended up as a Noxian deserter or something. Like maybe the Empire wanted him dead for cowardice, for coming back with his tail between his legs. And then we'd see him in some kind of arc turning into like a Riven style character, but probably not. My biggest guess is that Locke is some kind of occult assassin for hire, and that some family or someone's gonna hire him to do this revenge job against Noxus and the last guy still alive from that ambush. And in the end, Big Bad Bear hints that he's got more leaks coming before the official reveal. So he already knows everything, or almost everything about the champion, and is gonna drop it just like he did with Zahin and Shyvana last year. But yeah, that's basically it. I'll see you guys in the next video.